I'm done. Go ahead, Nas. I'm sorry.
I don't know what y'all talking about, but I like where this is going.
So, so the gender war general is here, so I'm going to ask the question again. Um, since we're talking about a man who is potentially living at his woman's house, is leadership then conditional? And then to what I was going to say, to what Mistaken said, are you the man of the house if it is not your house? Can you call yourself that?
Um, all thing if you were moving in a traditional fashion, right? If let's say the situation could not be avoided, or let's even say you don't even plan to live there long term, right? Maybe y'all are engaged. You've already decided, I'm not staying here, past a certain point because we're going to get our own house. And of course, you can keep your own property. You earn this, you bought it for yourself. So let's say you're staying there temporarily and it might take longer than it should. Yes, you are the man of that house. A law that's a big that should be a big test for your relationship as well, because you can't. It's not only who's making it conditional. The woman is the one who's going to make it conditional. She's supposed to be already practicing the role of wife. And that is absolutely the best test you can have, when everything belongs to you and you still let a man preside over it. That is, I can't think of a better test. And the worst part about it is that, I'm not going to lie, I think I can pull that off. I 100% could pull off living in a woman's house and being the man of the house. I don't think a lot of men understand how to take control without causing friction.
But Trigger
You,
Mike, I
you,
actually agree with you. My question though is, if you are in a dating, type situation, I agree with you. If the part that you said, if it's temporary because we're about to get married, so we want to save a little money while we're engaged, and then we get married and we move into a place together, or a scenario where the relationship is on a trajectory to marriage. If it's just we live in right now, we dating, and I moved you in, and there's no clear, pathway to anything, and we just trying to fill it out and see what happens, then at that point, I don't think he is going to be the head of the home, because we don't even know at this point where it's going. To be honest, they shouldn't even be living together if it is.
I was gonna say, that's why the elders. It's funny how we spent the better part of our adulthood trying to prove that there was a new way to do things, and it just turns out the elders were right the whole time. Don't shack up and don't do all this stuff for this very reason.
Yep.
So it makes sense.
So look, when I was managing the real estate portfolio, I had about 1,100 units. So some of that stuff I was privy to as far as the inner workings of their families. And to answer your question now, I think it is possible, and I'll tell you why. Just as it's possible for a man to pay all the bills and not be the man of the house, it's possible for him not to pay the bills and still be the man of the house. Back to Trigger Mike's point, I think it's the way in which you move as a man that dictates that. Although you will want to be or should want to be in that position, I think that the way you carry yourself as a man is ultimately going to dictate the terms and what you allow to occur in that relationship and what type of relationship you allow yourself to be in. I had a situation where the girl was on Section 8, the guy lived with her. And funny enough, this whole child can't come over literally happened. And that guy, he was like on house arrest there. And he was beating the lady up because she wouldn't let his son come in. And we ended up having to put her and him out because of it. And I've seen other scenarios where the families worked fine. They had 3 or 4 kids and everything was cool. I would see them walk as a family. They didn't have no car. They would be walking down the street every day as a family to the park and back to school and back. So she seemed to really love him and admire him. So I've seen it work in both ways. It depends on the man, it depends on the woman, and the dynamic they set up. I think money doesn't dictate who you are as a man, the benefit of having it or the lack of not having it. It doesn't change the principle of that dynamic, in my opinion.
I agree. And it has to be the mindset of the woman that is in her her psyche of what the head of the home is. So whether it is her home or not, if that's just her disposition, she is going to let him lead. But I don't think many women are, especially now, are like that at all. So I'm speaking from that perspective of this day and age. With that, no.
So I think this is extremely unfair. And what I mean by this is unfair, it's from the standpoint of, like, in this situation, she owns the house. Let's say, for instance, she owns the house. She's on the lease, her place, her rules, her stuff, right? The question is, it's like, all right, can he still be the leader and the man in this situation? Here's my issue and why I think that this situation and these situations like this is unfair. It's socially acceptable for women to have the option versus for men, it's not socially acceptable for men to have the option. Even when a man isn't doing what he's supposed to do, he's still labeled as the leader. Even if he's not leading that relationship, he's still judged as the leader. If you're going out to eat, more than likely, if he has the funds to pay it and you're going out with a woman, more than likely you're going to have to pay. If you want a person that, if you want to be in a relationship with a woman, there's going to be at some point that you're responsible for her physical safety and well-being, right? Or else she's probably going to disappear. Too often you hear these conversations keep going back and forth about all the options that women have the choice to submit, to lead, to do what they want to do, say what they want to do, wear what they want to do. Women can do whatever they want to do when it's convenient for them. However, when the shoe's on the other foot for men, it seems like you don't get that same grace to let that woman lead. If guys are out here letting women lead, yo, he's getting clowned. And then we'd be like, well, shoot, our women are leading our households and they expect these things to work out the way that it should, but women weren't designed to lead the household the way that they're doing it, right? They were supposed to be covered. They were supposed to have a place where they can have like this territory to be able to watch over the kids and do all that stuff. So I think it's extremely unfair.
Absolutely.
That it's only an option for the man, I mean for the woman, but it's not an option for the man. And I agree wholeheartedly that if you are the man in the relationship, no matter if you got a dime, you got $1 million, you take the large responsibility for this family. Whether you got money, whether you don't, whether you got resources or nothing, you are the man and you should be the man. Now, granted, all men aren't to be trusted with leadership. I agree with that. But to me, I think it's also unfair that you want this man to protect you, to pay for stuff, to do all the things he would still be doing as a husband, but yet your submission, your respect, and your deference to him is always going to be an option until you feel like he's worthy enough. And I just think this is extremely unfair.
Pick a different chick then.